You're listening to the Life in General podcast with Tom and Jay. An hour of informative commentary on today's headlines, current events, and what's going on around the world and around the corner. And now, here are your hosts, Tom and Jay Darden.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Life in General podcast here with Tom and Jay, coming at you with episode number 63. It's rainy and dreary out here in dreary old Manhattan. Comment down below where that reference is from. We've talked about it, the movie, so let us know. We're going to start this episode off the same way we do every time and ask the man of the hour how he is down in Playas, Ecuador. What's going on? So, hey Dad, how are you?
I'm doing very well. I'm sorry that it's raining there. We have clear skies here and 77 degrees and a full moon. And I believe they said it's the last full moon of the summer. So enjoy the moonlight. So
there you go. Be like dancing in the moonlight.
That's right. I think that was a song.
Yeah, where it could be. Comment down below in the comments. What song is that? It's called the reference hour there, folks. Just be prepared because that's what's going to be happening. So, yeah,
okay.
Like things aren't too bad up here. It's been rainy for the past several days, which, of course, it's not bad until it gets so, like it rains, and then and of course, then, rain just kind of sits there. It makes it muggy. Circle back around to, hey, then it gets hot again, and then even when it's like 88, and then it's just freshly rained, well, that means you then live in soup, and then that's Tennessee weather for you. So our summer is coming to a close and then you can tell because when you get up, there's electricity in the air. What's that electricity? It's little kids walking down the road, and then you got to pay attention before you turn little Timmy or little Susie into, paste as they walk to school because their parents think it's safe for an 8-year-old to traverse the streets to their neighborhood school. That's only a couple of blocks away, but they forget I'm on the road. So it's a scenario where my mornings are very eventful. And if you don't get out of there early enough, you then get to contend with, oh, look, parents late to school, bringing their kids, and the line is long and long and long, and it is just outrageous.
When did school start back?
It already has, my friend. That's what I'm telling you.
Crap!
It's like a movement.
Kidding.
It goes for a minute, then it stops and starts again. So that's what's happening right now. It's absolutely wild because luckily I'm going to school. Yeah, I'm going to school. I'm getting schooled every day, but I am going to work a little bit earlier, so I don't have to worry about that too much. But if I was on my normal schedule or my older schedule, it would be a scenario where it would be hell unless I go the back way, or as some would call the scenic route, by Johnny Cash's house. But then you have to test running into little children who aren't paying attention and their heads down and they're walking to school and they're all sad. And it's like, well, I can make your life less sad, but I don't think you'd like the outcome. But yeah, so it's there's a little bit of life in the air, right? Because the kids aren't sleeping in until 10 o'clock, and no more summer vacation, and all sorts of that nonsense. But yeah, like school starting back at like the first week of August is just wild. I remember when.
Oh wow!
I remember back in my day.
I didn't think it started until 1st of September or something. We were out for 90 days, 3 months or something like that.
Not anymore. You're in it. You're in it for the long haul. You're out for like maybe 60 days, maybe. And that's a scenario where you would think the longer kids would be in school, the smarter they would be. But that is just not the case, it doesn't seem like. So maybe they're trying to keep them in there to try to make them retain even more. But, it is what it is.
You think they're trying to shove that education down their throat because of what they missed during the COVID shit?
No, no, not at all. Because you don't have, like, school, and as we kind of talked about a little bit before in random episodes and whatnot, like school functions as many different things other than just an educational system, right? It also functions as a way to socialize children. It also functions as a way to have a daycare, right? I mean, for the parents who couldn't stay at home, or they actually had a job where they had to go out and about and whatnot, well, you were still in the same boat in terms of the kids had to go somewhere, right? Some parents had the luxury of staying at home with their kids, but then some didn't, and then they very much realized, I don't like my kids. So they need to be in school. They need to actually be out and about so they can become little human creatures versus being at home with them every second. So it definitely kind of tells you who you are and what kind of child you have and all this sort of thing if you're stuck with them all the time. So kind of wild.
Stuck with them all the time. It kind of happens like that when they're born, isn't it?
Yeah, for a little bit, but at that point, at least for some part of that time, they're not talking, walking, doing any of that stuff. They're just kind of entities in which they can't do anything for themselves, which can harbor resentment, and I can understand that. But then you also have the time when they do begin to talk, they do begin to be mobile, and then they start to garner rumpus and ruin, as they would say. So, the toddler phase and etc. And then they start becoming little actual humans. And then the nightmare begins, from what I've heard. So.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Well, you got 89 days till the election. Vote them out. 89 days from today.
I was going to say, as you point to the Ecuadorian flag, that's pretty funny.
Yeah, that's right. Vote them out too. So, yeah, they're out of control now completely. So, yeah, all the people in Congress and the Senate and all that, you can vote them out. It's the only way you're going to change things. Elections matter. And I know everybody's gets tired of hearing that, but you know what? They're going to get tired of hearing it for the next 89 days.
Yeah, I was going to say 89 days. Well, one thing you got to look at something like this too is if it is elections like that, you would think that they're kind of making their last hurrah, right? Where they're saying, okay, we're either going to shoot for the fences or we're going to hunker down and then see what kind of changes we can make within that amount of time. But as we know, nothing happens in Congress very quickly, which is by design, right? So
right.
It is something where, that means they got 90 days, but some stuff might not even change. And then you got to look at it like this. Would that make you even more mad that nothing changed? Or would we be more upset that the wrong people got in the places where we thought they shouldn't be?
Well, there's quite a few primaries going on right now in several states across the country. So they just had Connecticut and New Hampshire and Vermont or something like that up in the Northeast. 3 or 4 days ago, they were in New Mexico and Arizona and places like that. So they're starting to flip the script on them, So we'll see. Of course, the latest distraction, they're trying to distract you from the price of gas and the price of bread and meat, rent, and electric bills and things like that. They're trying to distract you from the inflation. And the newest distraction was yesterday when they raided Donald Trump's home in Mar-a-Lago, Florida. So, and my question to that was, and I dove into it just a little bit, because the Secret Service is supposed to be protecting the president. They have a presidential detail, but they also have a detail where it protects your family and your property. Well, he was in New York when they came to serve a search warrant, not a subpoena, but a search warrant. So, why didn't the Secret Service go, wait a minute, man, you can't, this is a private residence and you can't come here. Who has more power, the FBI or the Secret Service? Okay, they both fall under the Department of Justice. But if you try to look that up, that doesn't give you a definite description of which one has more power.
Well, I think they would keep that ambivalent just because in a moment they might need to say, well, we had probable cause to do X, Y, and Z, and so it doesn't matter who it is. It's all the same department, right? Or all the same, like DOJ, right? So in that case,
Right.
they just simply say, we're acting on the best interest of the United States and its people, and then so it doesn't matter. Which is
Well,
my
they called the
assumption is why
Secret
they would say
Service.
that, but
They called the Secret Service and told them they were coming ahead of time and gave them a heads up. And so then they came to the residence and searched the residence for 9.5 hours. Look, what are you looking for? They wouldn't let the Trump's lawyers see the search warrant. They go, see, and they put it in their face and then go, oh, don't touch it. And then they told them to get out of the house. You can't throw the law. This is a private residence. This is a private residence. You can't throw my attorney or me out of my own house. You can't. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you sat at a table with Jesus and the 12, man. You don't have that kind of power. And they put these lawyers out of the house. Now, Trump was in New York. He wasn't even there. But
I thought you said he was in Alaska.
They're trying to find some dirt on him so that they can disqualify him for the 2024 election. So watch for some fabricated story like the dossier or Russian disinformation or some crap like that. Watch that pop up, and they'll create some kind of hoax like they did the last 3 or 4 or 5 years and try to disqualify him from running again, because now it's on. It's on big time. All of his supporters are getting all stirred up across the United States with this raid going on. But it's just a distraction to take you away from seeing what's going on with the gas and the fuel. The gas and the food and all that
I
kind
would
of
say
stuff.
it's not necessarily a distraction. And the reason why I say that is because it's not as though people aren't buying food. It's not as though people aren't buying gas. They see it. They're interacting with it physically, right? It's in their face. They can't not experience it. Now, are they not thinking about it maybe on a higher level? Well, maybe, but it's one of those. They might be going when they're sticking the nozzle into their gas tank. No pun intended. But they're experiencing these sorts of things every single day. Like, you go to the grocery store now. Understand this, people. A lot of folks, they might say, okay, if they have a budget and they do it monthly or weekly or whenever, and they say, well, I bought the same things last month and it's now, $10, $12, $20, maybe $50 difference depending on what they purchase, then yeah, that might say, oh, look, like I got to change things. But people are interacting with that stuff all the time. But it's just a scenario where it's very difficult to fight inflation, right? And we've talked about this sort of thing where we've said many a times you get to the point where, okay, I found what people are actively willing to pay to continue to buy something. It's never going to be it's never going to be cheaper than that. It just never is, because I know now what I can squeeze out of the proverbial stone. So why in the world would it go backwards? Like, that's just shenanigans. So when we say that, hey, they're raiding Trump's house to get him all riled up and stuff. Well, maybe they're doing exactly what they want to do, because even you said you don't want Trump running for 2024. You want somebody else who would be, quote unquote, better at the job and not be someone as controversial. I mean, there was a point in time when it was like, like the one pump Trump, right? Where people were excited and they would say, well, yeah, this guy wants to drain the swamp. Didn't do it in the slightest. He wants to tell it like it is. And it's like, okay, well, he's just being controversial. Or the media is going to spin it in such a way where he's always going to be the bad guy. And that gets so tiring, and it polarizes people, and it makes people not want to do politics, which maybe that's what they want, because there is such a light shined on the political stage now, where look at Twitter, look at Instagram, look at YouTube, look at all Facebook, all these places where everyone's in the spotlight all the time. Well, that means you can't be as corrupt, or if you are and it's just blatant, well, then people are going to run you out on a rail. I mean, they're going to literally get the rail, tie you to it, and then dump you onto the track, because we're going to figure out pretty quickly, just like with Nancy Pelosi and the whole, hey, I'm going to dump stock or buy stock or whatever, and then go around to all the places in Taiwan that make chips and say, hey, you know what? This is pretty cool. We're going to keep you safe, because if not, my $50 million investment is going to go down the drain, and I'm about to be voted out. So I need to make sure I can retire well, and also pay my husband's alimony while he's in prison and whatnot. Like, it's an absolute cluster, man. But it's I don't necessarily think it's a distraction. It's just the next thing, right? Because at least not a distraction against those things, i.e. food, gas, and like inflation, because people feel it all the time. Now, they might feel it in such a way where it's not like, okay, it's shoving bamboo up their fingernails. It might not hurt that much, but it still hurts. Like they just may not realize it. It's kind of like the frog in the boiling water, right? You're just going to boil them real slow until they're,
well, they say gas is coming down, but is it?
Yeah, it's not at $4. I think it was like what, $3.30 something this past week. I'm gonna fill up tomorrow morning, and I think at least at the place where I'm next to, which is not right by the airport or an interstate, it's like $3.36, something like that. Like, it's not awful. I mean, it's not amazing, but it doesn't feel like you're taking it in the ass and in the tailpipe. So.
But it's still $1 a gallon higher than it was a year ago, right? Or 2 years ago. $1.25 higher than it was a couple of years ago.
Well, yes, 2 years ago. But also look at houses. I mean, houses have like almost doubled in price, and that's something too where, okay, we're going to blame that on Biden too. Like, we are, how much?
Oh yeah, we're going to blame everything on him.
Everything, and it's like.
Well, they blamed everything on Trump.
Right, so, and they blamed everything on Obama. Like, it's just going to keep being cyclical. Like, it's his fault, their fault. And it's like, it doesn't do any good to keep pointing the fingers, because it's always everyone's fault all the time. So it's pretty humorous that, we even have had a saying that became a meme for the longest time where it's like, thanks, Obama. Like, that whole scenario. I mean, it's just shenanigans, right? Or we can be like, thanks, Bush. And then come to find out, 20 years later, we're like, well, Bush was just put in a bad deal, and he wasn't a bad guy. Then you get to the next person after Biden, and then you look at Obama, and it's like, that man just was up against the wall. And then people are going to always blame Trump just because, he's insane. And then you're going to get to Biden, and it's like, why did we ever elect him? Because that man is geriatric.
Speaking of Obama, the magistrate that signed off on this search warrant in Florida was a huge Obama donor. He donated thousands of dollars to Obama's campaign. And he also, when he was an attorney before he moved into a magistrate position, he represented Jeffrey Epstein's employees. And if people don't know who Jeffrey Epstein is, he was the pedophile that was flying Bill Clinton back and forth to the island where the little girls were and all that kind of stuff. Well, they didn't raid Clinton's house. Hillary scrubbed out 30,000 emails off her server, did some kind of bleach wash or something on her server, and was destroying cell phones with hammers. They didn't raid her house. They haven't raided Hunter Biden's house yet, and they know he's no good and a national security risk. I just think it's telling. It's very telling on the agency right now. They got no credibility whatsoever. The FBI, what a bunch of schmoes and clowns. I mean, it's really sad.
Didn't your dad, who worked for the FBI, say it's the most corrupt organization in America?
Yes.
So, okay, it's par for the course. There's literally nothing to be shocked about or anything like that. And it's also a scenario where, Hillary did that, and they didn't elect her. Well, Hank, it wasn't as though there weren't any consequences. There weren't the ones that we probably wanted, ones that would make it seem like, oh, justice was served, because we still have this laudable notion that justice is a thing that can be obtained.
Okay.
Can it?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
Like, can we define what justice is, or what we think is tolerable to the point of it satiates our needs of saying, man, the right thing was done. That just doesn't exist anymore.
No.
It's a scenario of, it's almost like when you get into a shoving match at, like in a bar or on the playground or wherever. And then it's just, shove you and shove you and shove you and shove you. The fight hasn't happened, and it's not going to for a minute. But justice is never served on either side. And so it comes down to, okay, then you just get riled up. Well, then you get tired. So then you stop. And then you start up again. But you never get to the point where anything actually happens. So it's just tension and tiredness and more tiredness and then more tension. And then it's a powder keg, man. Like, it's going to go like absolutely outrageous because it's just shenanigans.
Did you see where your Sumner County courthouse caught on fire?
No.
You didn't see where the brand new Sumner County courthouse they're building in your county
like this
burst into?
Yeah, because I know everything that's going on in my county. Like, shit, man.
You could see the flames from your house. The fire was so big, man. I mean, it's incredible.
I don't ever look that direction. I only look towards Nashville.
You don't walk outside, right?
No, actually we do. And we enjoyed the pool this past weekend, and it was amazing until it started to storm. So that was that was saddening. But,
speaking of storming, they're not sure.
Like the 7-story place that we have looked at and stuff?
Brand new, under construction, started in 21, supposed to be finished in 2023. A new Sumner County courthouse, $80 million facility. And they don't know if lightning struck it or what happened. But let me tell you, it was like a 5-alarm fire the other day. Some people got some video of it, and you've never seen flames raging like that and smoke coming off a building. And that was at night. So,
I'm sure.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. They had everybody in that city and probably some more people over there trying to fight that fire.
Oh, I bet. Well, it's a large building. I mean, it's pretty freaking huge.
Oh, yeah.
And it's something where you look at like, what do you call it? I mean, yeah, it's been storming a bunch. So unless it was larceny, which, hey, an $80 million building. Well, think about this. What if we get halfway through with it and then burn it down and then get the insurance money for it? Then we were insured for $120 million, right? And then we're sitting pretty, right?
I guess.
I was gonna say that's an episode of Law and Order right there, or some shit like that.
Yeah.
So, but
wow.
Yeah,
well, that's just one of the things going on in your neck of the woods,
or maybe
around the corner.
Or something like that. I don't know. Or
around
CSI,
the corner and around the world. Yeah. So this was all tied together with the Trump raid and stuff, but I just think that they've overstepped their bounds here, and everybody's all jacked up about it. And the next move in the playbook will be everybody that speaks out against the government or the administration. They'll label you as an extremist or a terrorist, and law enforcement will start coming for you, and they'll get it where you can't speak out against the government at all, because they'll come to you. They'll come for you, man. They will. And that's what their goal is, the power to run everything. So we'll see how well it works for them.
Well, and it's something too. I mean, I would say until you can de-weaponize people, right? And by that, I mean from a literal and figurative sense. And that's going to be tough. Right? Because you have town halls and places like Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, stuff like that, where people can speak out. Then you have physical places. Well, I very much enjoy that Dave Chappelle says Twitter ain't a real place. Like, it's not a real live place. But and that does make sense to a degree. So you don't have to engage with it. But when you look at real life, well, people are armed and they are dangerous. Like, people are animals and crazy and silly and can be persuaded and mob mentality and stuff like that. So, yeah, we have some interesting things coming, and it's a scenario where I think people more and more, and we talked about this before, is they're getting either entrenched in their ideals, trying to stay out of it completely, or the biggest thing is get mine and get out. Like, get out of the need or the struggle to have any sort of issues with X, Y, and Z, and then just stay out of it. Just be like on the sidelines and say, nope, I'm good, because this is shenanigans right here. So
Right. And trying to control everything. With that being said, the government just gave the IRS $80 billion in new funding to hire 87,000 new IRS agents.
Sure. And we talked about this a little bit before the podcast began, and it was something where, of course, maybe I'm looking through my gold-colored glasses and hoping that
you're rose-colored.
Well, they're gold right now.
Okay,
or amber. They're amber. Through my amber-colored shades, or rose-colored, if you're looking for the analogy, that they want to do good with this funding, right? And you had it under lock and key that they're going to come after the little people, and it's a scenario where if that's the case and they spend all that money and don't find enough to pay that shit back or make it seem like their ROI is worth it, then it's going to be shenanigans. And then it's gonna be something where there's so much more money to gain out there, and so much of the system that's corrupt that you could find that you could, get paid. Where if they don't do that, they would be ridiculous. Like, I don't know, it would just be shenanigans.
And most of the government people are still working from home.
Sure,
that's how silly. That's how silly all this is they're all still working from home. But the 87 agents will make the IRS bigger than the FBI, the Pentagon, the CIA.
Yeah, the 87,000 people
combined with the present employees and the 86,000 they add. It'll be the largest government agency in America.
Okay.
Really? The tax people?
Well,
the tax. We see where this is going.
Yeah, the tax men are coming, right? It's going to be a scenario where, I can't wait for the Amazon special, the tax men or the tax people, right? Where they have something where the IRS becomes even more corrupt, more powerful, more this than the FBI and CIA combined, and then it's just going to be, it's going to be some shenanigans, but. In my silly little world where I have to try to hold out hope to make sure that I do not go absolutely insane, we can think, well, maybe, just maybe, with almost 90,000 more people, they're going to go after the entities that they should go after, whether it be corporations, whether it be estates, whether it be assets, whether it be this or that, of folks who some would say aren't playing by the rules. And if they don't, okay, that's on them. Right, I don't have to live with their consciousness or their guilt, or maybe nothing that they'll have if they don't do the right thing. But it's also a scenario too where if all I do is go around, or all we do as people is go around and assume the worst, think about what kind of outlook we're going to have.
Okay. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Well, you think they're going to go after little people, so what's their plan there? They all get established, and then they just start randomly picking out the people they don't like?
I have no idea. I have no idea what the plan is, but it's all about control, because the government wants to control everything you do. Food, money, power grid. I mean, this ridiculous-ass bill that they passed, the $289 billion new... They called it the Inflation Reduction Act, and everybody just laughed at them because how does spending more money make inflation go down? It doesn't. And they're all just liars. All of them are lying and trying to put a different spin on this. So, but we'll see what happens.
Well, then how do we if you're mad at that, like spending money to make inflation go down, how do we make inflation go down?
I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad, but something that was interesting, and you and I talked about this, was PayPal now, if you use their platform to move money through from one entity to another, anything you move over $600 has to be reported to the IRS.
Right.
Okay, for taxes. They figured out they're missing tax money on money that's moved through PayPal. So now people are finding alternate sites like Wise and some other places to move their money from one place to another. Yeah, and I've never dealt with PayPal before till now. And so it's not,
Well, I was going to
I
say,
don't know.
and you still don't deal with it because you ask your teller to assist.
I try.
And that's okay.
I try to. But, and I can see where they're missing out. People that have businesses and they run their money through there, if it's a substantial amount, they're missing the tax money on it. But
oh yeah, well,
okay.
and it's something too. But I think that's a pretty interesting question. And let us know down in the comments below if you think you know how. How do we go backwards and reduce inflation?
That is a good question. I haven't heard anybody say so far.
Right, because it's not about solutions. It's just about presenting more problems and getting mad about it. So that's one of the deals. How do we reduce inflation? Because
Makes sense.
It's a scenario where things really don't get that much cheaper, right? Like it kind of, as long as it's not going just up like this in a J curve and it's going steadily up, then that's kind of okay, right? Because we understand things are going to cost more. Because effectively, the hope is that people make more, right? I mean, that's your capitalism, right? Everyone slowly makes more, things slowly go up, and yada yada, and it kind of evens out. But it's not going to happen where things are just going to go way backwards until people just either stop buying it on purpose or they physically can't do it, right? So it's like, well, unless we have some sort of massive thing that occurs that we won't speak it out loud to make sure we don't will it into existence, stuff's not going to get any cheaper. And then so inflation doesn't happen or doesn't stop or roll back, and then it's like, well, yeah, there you go. So
right. I don't see how they can force people to drop the price of fuel, or gas. I don't see how they can make them drop that price. I mean, they can suggest it or relieve some of the maybe the sales tax on gas, but I don't see how they're going to be able to drop that $1 a gallon or $1.50 a gallon. So that'd be an interesting call, even if you gain 10 seats in the Senate and 50 seats in the House. I still don't think you're going to be able to pull it off because that's not going to be your goal. Your goal is going to be to get in there and do nothing every day, like the ones that are in there now. I demand this and demand that. No, you don't. You're not demanding anything because nobody's doing anything in the government. So it'll be interesting. 89 days. Get them out. So do you like your job?
Yeah, most days.
Okay.
Like there are some days it's taxing, but I don't think that makes it any less rewarding.
Okay.
So,
I was just wondering because I had taken some notes and listened to this segment on what every employee needs at work. And I thought it was very interesting because the first thing they said was find meaning and purpose in their work, and let it be something that you enjoy doing, because if you enjoy going to work every day, then you're not really working.
Well, that's a laudable proposition, but yeah, okay.
Well, and the other thing was recognition for their unique contributions. Do you find that at your place that you work? I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I'm just asking.
I do. Yeah. Well, and one of the things that I've had to do in my almost 10 years of tenure in the place that I've been is realize that you get recognition in different ways, right? And then you also contribute differently depending on your position. Because like I was a good widget spinner, right? Where I could turn the knobs well enough and could be left alone, and then got a little bit creative with certain things and tried to be very efficient. And then getting into a different position, you had to then think more critically on certain policies and compliance and this sort of thing. And then now in the position I'm in, it's how to lead people, right? It's how to take people that you are put in charge of to a degree, and they're on your team, and then try to lead them to success. So you get recognition for different things, and it's shown in different ways, but you also have to contribute differently depending on the position that you're in, which, I mean, it makes sense if you line it up like that, right? Where I'm not going to get recognition for turning widgets if I'm leading people. So it just depends on how critically can you think about what is happening around you. Will depend on your happiness.
Right. Well, another thing they said was a relationship with their boss. You need to develop a relationship with your boss, like a coach. Just kind of like a baseball coach or a football coach. He has a relationship, but it's a working relationship with the player kind of situation. So, do you find that to be true also?
I do, but I don't have a boss, right? Like I have everyone not necessarily is on the same perceived hierarchy, right? Because you do have to have a structure in an organization. But right. the point of this is you don't need to look at them as a boss. And I'm not talking about like, hey, I'm looking at them as a dad or a brother or something like that, where it's like a family member. But right. It's something where on the right team, you won't consider them your boss.
Okay.
Right. You'll consider them, a mentor. You'll consider them someone who can assist you in problem solving or situations. It won't be, hey, this is the person that can fire me. Right. Okay. Because to me, when I hear boss, that's all it is. Right. It's someone who holds my fate in the palm of their hands. And that's just it's not how it feels where I'm at.
Do you think a bigger check is great for a while and then it wears off? I mean, it's great for the bank account, but you're standing up a little straighter and you're walking a little taller, and if you got a big raise, then you think that wears off after a while.
Yes, 100%. I mean, anyone who's ever done drugs and knows what tolerance is knows that is 100% accurate. Like, of course, because then that becomes the norm, right? Like that amount of money becomes what you're used to, as opposed to it was more now. Well, then you just get used to it, and then it becomes even keel again.
Okay, that makes sense. And we have a compass and a filter, and the compass is to get us where we want to go, and the filter is to make sure that we get there unobstructed. Would you agree with that?
I mean, the compass is all well and good, but I don't necessarily agree with the filter analogy. But that's just because filters don't necessarily make sure we go where we need to go in the right way. That's that's kind of what your compass is. But
okay.
Something that
I made that up. I just wanted to.
Wonderful. So something that is kind of interesting in terms of like a leadership segment there is you can even work towards a bad idea if you have everybody on board, and it can succeed minimally, right? Where even if everyone's all rowing in the right direction, but it's the wrong way, you're going to move towards that direction.
Right.
Then if you have an amazing direction, but you only have half the people rowing towards it, you're never going to get there, right? So even the most amazing idea, right, and then one where people aren't working towards it, well, then that's going to stifle you, and that's not going to work. So then the true outcome is to have the best idea with the most amount or all of the buy-in there, so everyone's rowing towards the best thing, right? So that kind of is your compass analogy there. But if you're not going towards the right thing, you can go towards something that at least will work to a degree as long as you have buy-in from everybody.
Okay, that makes sense. And a purpose statement. A purpose statement for each employee is for themselves. This is for ourselves. Is to identify your talents is the first thing, and what you're good at, what you enjoy. Figure out what you're passionate about before you go into a job. If it's not going to be something that you are passionate about, or you don't think you'll enjoy it, then don't do it. And determine what your mission is, okay, and where you want to go, because you can't separate you from work you and home you. You can't separate. work you from home you. You're going to take your work home. I sat here and racked my brain today thinking of a job where someone didn't take it home with them. Help me out.
No, I mean, they just don't do that. Like, because people are going to, unless you have a very minimal transactional job where you don't have to put a whole lot of time and effort into what you do as a profession, then you can't leave it all there. That's kind of the point. But you bring yourself into work, and then you bring your work back into your regular self. So I mean, that's just something that's very, very difficult to do regardless.
Right. And when you said that, it just, in my mind, it popped up bank teller. They count money all day, and then when they walk away, they wash their hands and go home, and they don't have to worry about it anymore, I guess.
Do you think that they don't think of the time that they gave somebody the wrong amount of money and got reprimanded for it?
If it happens, oh yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Sure, if it happens.
Or let's say it's a person who's a bank teller who sees people going into the office of the person who's about to get that loan that's going to keep them bogged down for years and years. No, that's not how that works. People are thinking about that shit all the time. And you also got to think, I work in a bank, one of the most corrupt places to possibly work because of the literal function of it, right? Like, get that shit
right. Yeah, we here we went into the bank the other day, and first of all, it was funny because they made us wear a mask. They made us put a mask on. Well, the mask mandate down here is gone, but the security guy with the badge and the gun said you need to put a mask on. Well, it's conveniently located was the mask vendor right outside the front door of the bank.
Right.
And it wasn't a big deal, it was like 50 cents a piece or something like that, but it was just the fact of having to go out and get them, and he had a big grin on his face. So I'm sure the security guy comes out at the end of the day and gets his, kickback from the mask vendor. But they run everything through one of the counting machines. First of all, it's all male tellers. There's no female tellers. It's all male, and which doesn't matter to me either way. But they run everything through one of those money counting machines. I don't care if it's one bill. They'll stick it in that machine and hit it, and it'll flip that one bill over. Or if it could be $400 or $500, whatever it is, they run everything through that machine just to make sure, I guess, that everything gets counted the right way.
Yeah, of course.
And they're very, very professional there. I mean, everything is cut and dry, and this is the way it's got to be, and it's the way it is, and all that kind of stuff. But they do have an old folks and disabled line that you can go in and do one teller over here, and then the other 2 or 3 tellers help the people that are lined up over here. And this is the old folks line or disabled line. It's pretty neat.
Well, yeah, it's neat because you get to fucking take advantage of the old or disabled.
It's not really neat because old people don't have their shit together. So when they get up there, they're rifling through their bag.
Hence why there's a separate thing. See, we think it's people respecting their elders. It's that we know they're fucked up and don't know what the fuck's going on. And it's going to be like, do you take a check? And then it's like, yeah. So yeah, it's not helping you all; it's helping us.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that doesn't raise my expectation of the bank anymore. With you talking about me like that, and how old I am and stuff, So.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're at the point where you still have your shit together. And so it's not a big deal. But it's a scenario where you're not taking advantage of the old people line; you're taking advantage of the handicap line, right? Where it might be a little bit smaller, and you can get through there a little faster. So it's all good.
It's really funny because when we go up there, we might be in front of the window for 90 seconds at the most. She's got the deposit slip done and the cash, and she gives it to the guy, and the guy runs it through the machine, and he sticks this in this machine, pulls this out, stamps it, hands it back to her.
Nice day. Ready to go. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And most people are up there leaning on the counter and about to fall asleep and stuff. So yeah, it's usually pretty interesting to go to the bank because it's right smack in the middle of downtown on the corner. Yeah. So, and they're selling everything that you can imagine around the sides and out in the street and stuff. Everything from ice cream to sneakers to flip flops to, yeah. sunglasses, all that stuff. So
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Well, and it's something too. I mean, that would be a place I would very much like to set up a little vendor card is right by the bank. You're either getting a check cashed or you might spend some of that money before you go in the bank, right? It's like, hey, that line looks a little bit long. You want a snow cone or a hot dog or,
especially on the side where the ATM machine is, because there's two ATM machines side by side.
Right, exactly.
So that's where you set up, is where the people are getting that cash money out. But that's where the police also stand too. The police will stand.
Well, exactly. So they're not going to rob you.
There.
They're just going to offer you some wares if you have coins.
That's right.
So
that's right. If you got $1.50, you can get you some flip flops. So
hey, nothing wrong with
$2 or something. Yeah. So I don't know, but I thought that was interesting. And I was talking to a guy today, and he kept saying our team and our teamwork. And I told him, I said, I don't even know you. I've never met you, but I'm proud of you for saying team and teamwork, because nobody ever says that anymore. Nobody ever considers the team. It's like you said a little while ago, I'll get mine and you get yours and we'll go on about our business as long as, I get what's coming to me and stuff. And working as a team is, to me, it's a lot better. But that was interesting to hear somebody talk about that.
But you say, I don't hear anybody ever talk about a team anymore. Look at what you listen to, look at who you're surrounded by, and look at what you do all the time, right? For one, you're on Cambli, right, which is the next segment that we'll get to, which is kind of exciting. But you interact with folks who aren't on teams, right? They might be a couple team, or it's not as though like you work on a team, right? You're doing solo stuff a lot, and then you're listening to people who aren't on teams or thinking about the team. It's more about how we're getting screwed by everybody else. I mean, of course, you're not hearing the whole team fabric being hoorah, because you're just not in those places where that's going to be touted for success.
It wasn't when I was in the United States. People didn't talk about the team. The last 5 or 6 years of working, people never mentioned the team.
It's because you were in a truck for 15 years and were by yourself for 28 out of 24 hours of the day or something like that. I mean, of course, there's not going to be much teamwork when the only team that you have is team left and right or right and left, whatever you're
Hey, it was Team Tom.
Yeah,
okay?
exactly.
So it was Team Tom. That's right. But the places I delivered and picked up, they never talked about teamwork and stuff.
Because you're not going to interact with the people who have to talk about teams. You're interacting with the person who is like, do I have to interact with you? Oh, really? Oh, you're in a bad mood too? Okay, perfect. Why don't you sign this shit and get the fuck out of here? Oh, okay, cool. No.
The last year I drove, they wouldn't even let us come in the buildings anymore. They made us stay outside because of Brovid.
Probably to your and their benefit, right? So,
yeah, because we kept all our cooties in the truck.
Right.
We stayed in the truck all day by ourselves. We only got out to get fuel. At least I did. And then I got back in the truck. And then we didn't go into the places we delivered or picked up because, one, they wouldn't let us in. Two, and if they did, we wouldn't go in anyway. No.
Right. Yeah. You'd be out and about and doing your own thing and not wanting to, catch this or spread that or whatever. And so it became a scenario. But yeah, that does not hold water, mi amigo, because come on, man. It's not like the trucker convoys are out there like, all right, record 99. We got ourselves a convoy going, be my blocker and all this bullshit. Yeah.
Come on, man.
That is just shenanigans. So, because I have been in a place that has talked about a team and make sure people are being tight knit and weeding out the folks who don't want to be a part of the team and don't want to have the village mentality, right? Where not the village people, even though they might call us that some days, but it's definitely exactly. Why? No, okay. It's definitely something where you can tell who the folks are who want to maintain that and who want to have that sort of a thing. But you can tell the opposite as well. Like there are folks who want the village to succeed, and there are folks who either don't give a shit, or if you're really unlucky, it'll be the folks who want to pull it down because they're down too. And it's something where no. We can't be having that, because if we can't rely on each other, either on the same team or in separate little squads and whatnot, it just ain't gonna work. So,
right, that makes sense.
Oh, and I will say this: if anyone out there gets the opportunity to watch Speed Racer, the live action movie, do yourselves a favor and buckle up, because that movie is freaking hilarious. It's not gonna make any sense, and it is silly as hell with Christina Ricci and John Goodman and Susan Sarandon, and they're all going wild with their acting and stuff. But it is just goofy as heck, and it is something where it annoys me it's taken this long for me to watch that gem. But yeah, it's just some silliness.
Okie dokie. Well, from the Cambli corner this week, today I talked to someone from Saudi Arabia, someone from China, and Levin, new subscriber. How are you? He's from Georgia, and not the one that's lined up beside Alabama.
I was going to say not the Bulldogs, huh?
No, he is in the Georgia, Russia area of the continent over. He said he was 700 kilometers from Ukraine. So we had a nice little discussion today. So
yeah, that's something else. Like you got some pretty unique folks coming out from all around the world and I bet they never thought in a million years they would get on the horn with Tom Darden.
Talking with Tom. I didn't put teacher Tom or tutor Tom, because it's more of a conversationalist platform. So I just put one long word called Talking with Tom, all in lowercase. And that's what the profile is listed as, just Talking with Tom.
It should have been Talking to Tom, because alliteration sells.
Okay. Anyway, on Monday, I talked to somebody from India, Saudi Arabia, Chile, and two more people from Saudi Arabia.
What were your topics or your most unique topic of conversation like for that day?
They can pick a lesson if they want to go over a lesson. And one lady that I talked to from India, we did the lesson on car rentals.
Oh, really?
And it talks about renting a car for travel. And so her English was very good. And so I was explaining to her that they want to give you insurance, but you have a car. So your insurance, you need to double check, because they want to charge you $20 a day for insurance extra on top of your car rental. And they said if you did an extra day, they would fill up your tank for free. Well, if you're paying $100 a day, they're only going to fill up your tank once. Is it worth it? Because you're paying that extra money every day. You're paying the if you upgrade to a luxury car, it's $50 extra a day plus a $20 insurance.
Well, and I would say this: you also got to you don't know their budget, right?
Right. Oh yeah,
they might have the American Express card and be ready to go.
And she said, I never thought of these things. And I said, well, they're her husband takes care of a lot of it. And so it's like, okay, but it was an interesting, some of the topics or some of the lessons that they have are interesting. I did one today on famous people. Do you want to be famous?
You talking to me?
Yeah.
Hell
yeah.
No.
You want to be famous?
No.
Okay. See,
we've already talked about this. That's one of the reasons that I don't want to run for politics, because then they get that big old magnifying glass out, and I'm like, nope.
Yeah, we talked about famous people, and one of the people was John Lennon of the Beatles.
Oh,
and
okay.
Yeah, they gave you some hints, and you were supposed to guess that person.
Oh, interesting. So you're kind of playing like 20 questions to find out who the famous person is. Okay.
and they only gave you like 4 hints, So
Was one of them shot in the back of the head, dated Yoko, and was a musician for a very famous band in the 50s?
Yes, married Yoko Ono, was a member of the musical group The Beatles, and
is no longer alive.
No, they didn't put that on there, but I knew who it was right away, but only because I'd done that lesson before. But the other person that they did was Mother Teresa. And see, I thought looking at the clues that they gave us that it might be Gandhi, talking about humanitarian work and the people that he had saved and all the things he had done. And it's funny because the lady I was talking to, she thought it was Gandhi too, and it's Mother Teresa. And it was that kind of stuff is, do you want to be famous, and why or why not? And why do you think famous people are addicted? And it's a pretty different lesson. So, but Sunday I talked to somebody from South Korea, Turkey, 2 people from China, one of them Wuhan, China, Japan, and Vietnam.
Jeez.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting, the cultural difference in a lot of things.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
That's going on. Yeah. Yeah, because the guy I talked to from Chile, they're right down the road, supposedly, in South America. And he's like, you're in Ecuador. I'm in Chile. Yeah. And he was like, So, yeah. So it's pretty interesting and pretty neat to be able to just talk to people around the world, for half hour or so. So, yeah, it's pretty neat to try to explain the English language to them.
Right.
If you have somebody that speaks no English whatsoever, that's probably not a good starting point for Tom.
That's very fair.
I don't even know where to start with someone that doesn't know any English and just kind of sits and looks at you, and it's like, okay, we're gonna have it up. So, yeah.
Well, like you said, you're not teaching them a whole lot. You're conversing with them, which it's learning by experience versus you actually having like a real lesson plan. Because you may have taught a few things in your life, but language, I would say, one that would be pretty difficult because you need to be able to communicate with your audience in order to, 1, think you're being successful, 2, actually be successful, and 3, have a good time with it. So.
Right. Well, one of the things I put on there that I not specialize in, but that I have experience in is job interviews.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I can talk to people about job interviews because I've probably only done about 1,000 in my lifetime. And so,
fair.
And the other one is doing presentations to groups, doing that one, and then travel English.
What's the top 3 things you should do in a presentation for success to a large group?
Well, first, you have to have a plan. Second, you have to be on the topic to hold people's attention. And the third is make eye contact with as many people as you can. And can we keep going? No. Do you know and you're testing me or something?
No, not in the slightest, but it is something that's kind of interesting. Well, one thing you have to understand too with eye contact, that can make people uncomfortable. So
Right.
You gotta make sure you are engaging with your audience in the appropriate way all the time. So it's kind of wild.
And that's what I told somebody the other day. I said, when you give this to somebody, look them right in the face, look them right in the eye when you give it to them, and their face will tell the whole story. Their face, when they look at what you're handing them, I don't care if it's a love note or if it's an application or resume, whatever. Their face will tell what they think of that piece of paper at that time. It's a dead giveaway every time. And they were like, really? And I'm like, yeah, you just.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And it's hard though, because I've done so many interviews and they've all been in person. I have never done an interview on the internet and be face to face like I'm screen to screen like we are right now. I've never done it. Okay. And it looks like 90% of them now are done on the internet, maybe a higher percentage than that. So sometimes it's difficult to tell people some of my techniques or tricks or things like that when you're not face to face with somebody. But I'm learning. I'm learning every day. I learn something new every day.
And speaking of, we'll end on this because this is kind of humorous to me. I was having my session with my boy on Mondays, And
Okay.
it was something that you're talking about. You can read people's faces, right? You know, you can kind of read what's going on with them and stuff like that. And I was told by this person that, they saw a change in my face, and it was one where, okay, natural face. Okay, slight curvature here, where it goes, but supposedly in my face, when we were talking about a specific topic, it was like, you know, like almost like a cartoon, right?
Right.
So speaking of the face tells you the whole story. The one we just talked about that, but two, my buddy told me previously, like the previous week, that same thing had occurred on one of our meetings, and I have a camera very much like this. It's pointing like down at me and stuff. And I was like, well, no, my face kind of naturally curves down. And he's like, no. It was like, you'd look pissed. I look very like, you know, done with whatever I was engaging with, because I was looking at something else. And then this meeting was happening. But of course we all have our cameras on, so they can see it. And it made me laugh because I told my guy, I was like, oh, well, yeah, my buddy he just literally told me this, several days ago. And it was humorous to me because I want to see that. Like, I would love for someone just to take a photo of it. Like, that's what you look like right here. Because then I can try to, think, okay, you do not look like this very much, because you're giving away the farm, essentially, with that sort of a thing. So
hope your face doesn't get stuck that way.
Yeah, exactly. And so it was one of those like, oh damn, like that's a real deal there. So, but you can definitely tell. I mean, what's going on by the face and all that. So the face says 1,000 words, right? So eye contact, look them in the face, and they'll tell you a lot more about what's going on with them than possibly what they're saying. So it's pretty interesting.
Yes, they will. Yes, sir.
Yeah, but we've hit our hour mark. Is there anything else you would like to talk about there, good sir?
I'm good.
All right. Well, thank you all so very much for watching the Life in General podcast here with Tom and Jay. We got 54 subs. We love you all. So thank you very much for sticking with us, and we will catch you all in the next episode.
See you.